Hey, welcome to another fantastic episode of the Distiller's Perspective. Won't waste any time. I have got Mike and Patty from Freemont Mischief Distillery with me tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Yeah, we're doing great.
Good. What was the day like? Was it pretty normal day, busier than usual?
We had a big order we were filling, so a lot of bottling action in the back room.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I'm not gonna waste any time. I've got a bottle of your bourbon ready to go.
Yeah,
I got this from you a little bit. I've put a little hurting on this bottle, but I'm gonna go ahead and pour this while we get chatting right off the bat.
Okay. So
if you guys could please tell us how you guys got into distilling and how you came into Mischief.
It's good.
Well,
I'll
give you a little clue first. What it was we both owned different businesses, and I owned a shipyard. Patty owned a software writing business. And when we turned 50, we sold both businesses. And in the meantime, before we sold my business, we started building Mischief. But what it was we figured we'd retire, and we got kind of like, we're still young enough to be doing something. Let's do something.
Yeah.
And so we started Mischief, and that's 14 years ago.
And, 14 years ago.
Yep. So we're still going strong, and it's been fun. We've met all kinds of people. We've helped all kinds of farms and farmers. They've helped us. We've had some unreal relationships. And our community, we've helped the community a lot too with doing our business there.
Right. So did you guys meet there, or did you guys create Mischief together?
We created Mischief together.
Yep.
Yeah, we met at our other businesses.
Yeah.
That is really neat.
So
I'll give you a little secret too here.
Is it a secret?
No, it's not a secret, but Patty and I, we've been together for 20 years.
Wow, congratulations. That is awesome.
We just got married last July.
Right. I saw that. Big congrats for both of you guys on that recent wedding. That's fantastic.
But we work together every day, and we've been doing that for 14 years. And so we figured it'd probably work if we got married.
He tells people we're still together after 2 months. So
good. All right. Do you guys have some of this here?
I was just about to go get it. No, Mike, just sit for a minute. Okay.
Get it.
All right. I can get out.
Yeah, I'm starting with the Canal Street Bourbon. It's 45%, so it's 90 proof.
Yep.
It's got some nice light caramel and vanilla on the nose. Little bit of fruits. The palate is kind of light fruit forward. Some candy.
Would you like some to sip with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Whiskey Edition says the math of your guys' thing says that you guys are both 49 years old. Right?
Something like that. No.
Yeah. Barely.
Wilson said, "Oh, that's Mayfield. Mayfield's part of the Northwest Bourbon crew." He said he's excited to hear more about your story. I'm trying to see, where is it? I want to go in. I want to create a poll in the chat, and so the people have something to vote on. Also, that would be fun. Okay, so can you tell us about the bourbon, like the mash bill and whatnot?
Well, the mash bill on it is basically 51% corn.
Right.
It's 40% rye and 9% malted barley. And all our barleys are basically from around, what is this?
Skagit Valley malting. That's where we get our malt.
Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
And it's the farmers up there that pretty much work with Skagit Valley malting.
Okay, so are 100% of your grains local here in the Northwest?
Well, where they come from is we have two different farmers that we work with, or two different groups. One is in Oregon, the
Right.
Hunton Farms, Camas Country Mills. They grow beautiful crops down there. And then the other one is we buy a lot of our Washington grain, in fact, almost all of it from Cairn Springs Mill. And then we like them because the grains that we get from them are 100% traceable. They don't mix them. So we can buy grain and we know it came from Dave Headland's farm. We can buy some other ones and we know it came from,
The Bishops
or John Rusin, the tulip guy. Actually, he grows wheat, he grows rye for us, he grows the barley for us. So we get a lot of things right out of Rusin's fields.
You're talking about that really famous, huge tulip farm?
Yes, I am. So he's a great tulip farmer, but he is a great farmer, period. And so Cairn Springs buys the crops from him. And then because they mill our flour for us, that we use in the mash, we can identify which farm we want it to come from. Because we like doing single farm barrels.
Another thing too, like with Skagit Valley Malting and a bunch of breweries, local breweries and local distilleries.
Right.
We've kind of helped a lot of the local farmers up north there keep their farms. A lot of them are not being able to compete with the big companies in Eastern Washington or Midwest. A lot of that grain goes to China or goes across the seas. And a lot of these guys were selling their farmland for developments, housing tracts. And once that happens, it never goes back to farming. And so the coolest thing, everybody got together, we pay a little more, but we feel, it's very sustainable and it helps everybody. This is our community.
Right.
We're not the only ones doing
So you guys kind of continually buy from them. You guys kind of keep each other in this like circle of life type momentum going on.
We work together with everybody. We're very open. And we just have a lot of great things that go on here in Washington, we feel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just so you guys are aware, everybody who tunes in and watches us live, they'll be able to see in the live chat going on. I put a poll in the chat that says, what kind of whiskey are you reaching for right now? Straight bourbon, rye, a finished whiskey, or barrel strength. Those are the four options that they are able to vote on. Do you guys have any guesses on that?
Okay, so we've got rye, bourbon.
I'm going to say rye.
What we're all for? One was the finished whiskey.
Oh my goodness! I just ended the poll. Goodness, I was trying to bring it up and closed it down. Sorry, hold on. I got to put it back up there.
Mark, one thing that we did, a lot of people asked us, how come you guys don't do a malted barley or a wheat whiskey or
right? Wheat whiskeys have their crowd following. Yeah,
they do. Sure.
We have from the very, very start have only done rye. We've always done rye, and we've learned so many things about rye, how to use it. And like when we do our mash, we don't use a beer worts. There are a lot of distilleries that have a beer worts, and so it's a clear, it's a liquid. It's they strain the grain off of it, and then that's what they distill. We actually take and have our grain ground up, and it's like a very fine powder. And when we do our mash, we cook the whole thing. And so it's kind of like cream of wheat. And then that's what we ferment, and that is what we distill. We put everything in the stills. And it's very different than a lot of other distilleries do.
Yeah, we don't drain off the
liquids.
Fermented liquids to distill. We put the whole thing in the still.
And then with each batch, depending on what we're making, we do different things to it as we're distilling.
And what happens to the leftovers of those grains after it gets distilled?
Okay, so I'll tell you a couple of things. One thing is we put them in these 275-gallon totes, and in the winter we actually store those in our warehouse, and it helps heat up our warehouse because we have a dairy farmer that picks them up once a week, and we'll have usually 5 to 6 totes. And that spent mash helps keep our warehouse at a certain temperature without using natural gas or actually heating it. And it goes to their cows, dairy cows, and they mix it in with their feed. And
Right. So that's another way that you guys help support local farmers is when the grains, get processed through the distillation process and all that, the leftover goes to help feed local cows for dairy.
Well, it helps them cut down on their feed cost.
Yeah, lower feed bill.
There's still a lot of nutrients in that mash, so it's a win-win situation there.
That it sounds like it. That's fantastic.
Well, we think it's pretty cool, and it just helps everybody, and we're not putting it in waste, and
Right.
it just is a good thing to do.
Before I open up the chat for other people to jump on and ask you guys questions in a little thing that we've started calling the revolving door of questions. Because what we'll do is we'll let somebody jump on stream with us on the screen and ask you guys a question, and then we'll kick them out and let the next person come on. That way it's only one at a time. Keep the focus on you. The conversation doesn't get crazy. So before we start that, I do have a couple of hard questions for you guys. First one is, did you guys ever source your whiskey?
When we very first started, when we were first starting out, it took 2 years for us to start out with John Jacob. John Jacob is our oldest brand that we have that we actually started with.
Our first brand, yeah.
It is our first brand.
We don't age it the longest.
And what we did to make sure we could keep going and everything, we did source whiskey for I think 3 years. And then after that 3 years, we've been totally making our own. So everything is made right here in Fremont.
Okay. And that was, oh my goodness, I might have to take off my boots for this math. That was 2008, right?
Well, we started, 2008 was a lot of building at that time. We really started distilling in 2009.
Yeah.
Okay. And
so
you said roughly the first 3 years,
like
2012 is when we started putting out our own product.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it's 100% your own made in-house product.
It is.
And 2011 is when we put out John Jacob. Right. And a year later, we started putting out Freemont Mischief. And now Freemont Mischief whiskey, the straight rye, is an 8-year-old.
Nice.
Yeah.
Follow-up question to that. With all the ryes that I see on your menu, can you tell me the advantage of having a larger menu per se when it comes to the different mash bills you guys offer? Because I know there's a few different ryes you guys offer and stuff like that. So you guys have kind of like a menu for how someone might prefer their whiskey. How is that an idea plan you guys went with as opposed to the other method, which is you guys work with one mash bill, one whiskey, and maybe just do different things to that one product? You know what I mean? To where, if you look at Woodinville or you look at Two Bar, they make one thing, but then they do different things to it, as opposed to you guys and Heritage and Dry Fly, you guys have a bigger menu of different things. And so can you tell me why you guys went with one direction instead of the other?
Right now I feel like rye whiskey was a real American whiskey, and that's why we stayed with rye. But what we found out when we're making and playing around, kind of once you get down the method of making everything,
right,
then it becomes the mad scientist in you to create something else. And what we found, especially with Skagit malting, that they had so many different malting barleys that we could take that malt and tame down, use different barleys and make different products out of our rye whiskey. And I'll tell you, rye is kind of a rough, grain to work with.
Yeah, I've heard it's difficult to work with.
Yeah.
It is, but I'll tell you, by using different barleys, and I think there's 20,000 different types of barley, but working with our malter, we have found so many cool different products that we can change the whole profile. Yeah. And why not? And I'll tell you one thing is like with our Storm Tossed.
Right.
So we have 4 different flavors of Storm Tossed. They actually age here at our place for 3 years, and they're all the same whiskey. They're identical.
Okay.
We don't do anything different to them.
Okay, so all 4 of those variants start out the same.
The same, and we put them in the same type of keg.
Okay.
But we put them in the same type of kegs, and then we put them on 4 different Deadliest Catch boats. Some of the boats go to California.
Yeah.
Some of the boats stay up in Alaska. Some go, through the Bering Sea. Some come down to Seattle. They do Southeast. They tender. They do all these different things, but they stay on there for 3 years. And then depending on where they put them on the boats, changes. So like the Northwestern, they put it in the Lazarette. And the Lazarette kind of seeps a little bit of salt water because that's where they store their extra gear or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it has kind of a salty brine taste to it. But each one comes back in a whole different profile. And it's not anything we've done. It's what
it's conditions.
Yeah.
Where did they go? Where is it on the boat? How cold was it? How rough was the water?
Wait, so are you saying that each one of these is 6 years old?
Yes.
Because they age in house 100% the same for 3 years. And then they go out on the ships for 3 years each. But because of where they go and they're there for 3 years, that's why they taste so different.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That is awesome.
It's
pretty cool. They have the same type of barrels. They have everything the same. But when they come back, none of them are the same. It's very cool.
We were shocked, actually, the first time, just how different they were. But it's been part of the fun now.
Yeah, and we've been doing that for over 8 years with the Deadliest Catch.
We started in 2013.
Yeah.
So almost 10 now.
Almost 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
That's a lot of fun.
Time flies when you're having that much fun. Well,
that is so cool because I thought there was more difference before they went on the boat. Actually, I wasn't sure. I just knew that you had 4 different variants, and I tried one of them when I was there. I bought another one later, and I've been enjoying it. I actually took this bottle right here from the Wizard, and when I had a drinking game to where you pour samples for somebody, and then they pour samples for you, and you try to guess what it is. I gave him some of that because I knew he hadn't tried it, so it's not like he was going to guess it. But I wanted him to try it because I knew he had never tried it, and he's a rye lover, and so I just wanted him to try it so he could experience it, and he thought it was great, like nothing that he had before. Let me run through the chat. I pinned the link to the chat at the top of the chat bar. So any of you guys that have a question that you guys want to jump up and talk to Mike and Patty about, you're welcome to. So the livestock doesn't get drunk. Yep. Rob, they don't, apparently.
They don't.
No, just, there's not much alcohol left.
So Lee's in the house. Good to see you. Troy, man. I appreciate you. David's in the house. Uncle Trey is in the house. Who knew I could support sustainable farming by drinking a great glass of rye? Absolutely. See, that's my dad. My dad's in the house. What's up?
Cool. So cool.
Jack, good to see you.
Mark,
David,
tell you one more thing.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so just to let everybody know, the whole Storm Toss selection that we have with the Deadliest Catch boats, all of that goes to certain foundations. We've supported Mary's Place, Forgotten Children, ALS, Parkinson's. And I'll tell you what we do every 2 years, we have a huge benefit auction. The last one we did was Parkinson's, and we raised over $425,000 in 5 hours.
Goodness.
And all of that goes to Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And same with Mary's Place, same with all these different foundations. And that's what we do with those, with the Storm Tossed brand.
When we take the whiskey off the boats, we do a whiskey release party and always team it with a fundraiser.
Yep. And a big benefit auction.
Yeah. So the captains are here, they're signing their bottles, they're taking pictures with people, and then there's the live auction, and it's pretty sensational. The last one, our friend Susan Cameron, we were raising money for Parkinson's, and for Parkinson's, she always makes a quilt, a handmade quilt.
Okay.
And she brought it to us at the beginning of the day, and she says, Patty, I never get more than 3,000 for one of these. Usually
15.
I get 12 to 1,500. And that day she got 15,000 for her quilt.
What?
That
No
gives you an idea
way.
of the energy in the room. She did.
Yeah.
So that was the day we raised 420,000. It was pretty
That-
cool.
That is awesome.
So
Do the captains ever take credit for how good the final product is? I would.
of course they do. You know those guys. They got big egos. They're good guys, but big egos.
And every once in a while, those kegs get tapped into a little bit.
Oh yeah.
They-
When me and some of the guys from the crew, including Rob, whenever you're ready to come on and talk about the Storm Tossed Ryes, please jump in. You were saying that the captains choose where the barrels go on the boat. Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah, you know what it is certain conditions on the boats of what their crew or where their gear lockers are or where they have the extra room.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Wizards goes down in the keel. The Cornelia Marie goes up in the very forepeak of the ship, which is really flapping
Yeah, it
around
sounds like they'll get a lot of action. Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot. And then Sigs goes in the very back of the boat, and it's a gear storage. And so it does seep a little bit of seawater when they're getting seas broke over their boat. And Brenna A, she puts hers in underneath the wheelhouse. And so
Really?
it's warm, but it's under
Right.
the wheelhouse. And so, it's a aft house boat.
Yeah.
So
A little more stable.
a little more stable, a little more smoother ride.
Right, but if it's warmer, it's going to expand the wood more, and it's going to absorb a little bit more wood notes, right?
Well, it does in, a little more angel shares too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So do you typically get a lighter yield from that ship?
We do.
And from the Wizard the last time, Keith said we found a little hole drilled in the barrel
Mhm.
with a plug in it, and Keith said, "Hey, I had a good season. I make no apologies."
Hey,
But they're pretty good.
They're good
and
guys.
Those guys are very big in what we're doing and what they do. And they help a lot.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they give back.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm not a scientist, but thinking about all the different places that you could put the whiskey in a ship and have it there for 3 years, no wonder these yields, these barrels come back from these journeys, these voyages, tasting completely different.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. We try to put enough on to make about 2,000 bottles of each one, and keep it on there often enough that we can always pull it off every other year, the 3 year that they've had it.
I see someone's asking how do they get on the mail list for the
Right.
fundraiser?
That was as soon as you were done, I was going to ask, is there like a link on your website or something to get in on that fundraiser that you mentioned?
I think you just sign up for our email list. That's
Yep.
where we put it out. It's on our Facebook.
Yep.
When we're doing a whiskey release party with the captains, we advertise it mostly through our newsletter and Facebook.
Okay, so if they go on your website, they can sign up for your newsletter, and if you actually read those emails, you'll see the information you're looking for there.
Correct.
Okay.
We let people know far enough in advance. The captains they have pretty tight schedules, so we have to plan these well in advance to get them their time. So
All right, so I'm gonna bring up Rob from Whiskey Edition.
Hey there.
Hey, Rob.
How's
And
it going?
and
I'm
So-
wearing makeup, so I'm a little flushed.
No, same here, Rob.
Same.
Don't feel bad.
oh, stop it. So before you get into those four, because you've got all four of the offerings in front of you, and so Patty and Mike, from what you know of them, I've got a question in the chat. Which one do you guys consider the smoothest to drink?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Wizard.
Okay.
What
And
are you
I
thinking?
agree with Patty, Wizard.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll crack it open right now.
Our
All right,
second
let's see.
is probably Cornelia.
So these are 100 proof.
Yeah. Well, I love to hear that bottle open up like that because whiskey should be enjoyed
go.
and not looked at.
Absolutely.
Well, if anybody, well, Mark knows me. I have a buying problem more so than a drinking problem. So that's why they're not all completely open. But I was waiting for something like this to do these with. You know, I'm more of a comparison type of person than a straight drinking. And the time we had there in Fremont was fantastic. I mean, we really enjoyed our time there, and I just need to come back. So.
Yeah, Rob,
Yeah,
I just echo what you're saying there. I had a blast. You and a few of the guys from Northwest Bourbon, we all got together, went down there, picked up a few of these. On the side of each bottle, you've got a picture of the captain. So the captain of each voyage, you got the name of the ship, the name of the captain, a brief little story about it. And like Patty said, they're all 100 proof, so they're 50% APV. And so, Rob, I'm going to start us out with the Wizard.
Yep, this is the Wizard.
All right, that's the one I got.
What'd you think, Rob?
Oh, it's very good.
You know, it's pretty amazing how much they change over that 3 years, but it's totally real.
Well, something I was going to do, I was going to compare these four being Storm Tossed to, I think, the Ocean Rye that also is
Jefferson Ocean, right?
Jefferson Ocean. And also there's a Roadstock and another one that are on trucks. I was going to kind of do a full, you know, like the full transportation thing. I don't think there's been one on a train yet, but, you know, who knows when, or a spaceship.
I know there's one that they actually put their kegs on a freighter, and
that is the Ocean.
Is it Ocean?
Yeah.
Ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of feel we've kind of been the first one to start sticking them on ships.
Right.
So
and doesn't the Jefferson's Ocean, that's only like a 6-month thing or something, right?
It's not very long.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. It's not no 3 years.
It's a long time.
But it's across the equator and back. Well, that could be a week. You know, it depends on the ship.
All right.
So you've said that there's been, these four were from a while ago, but there were others that you had them on also.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why when you held up the label, I could see that was the last time we did a whiskey party. You know, I mean, COVID came in soon after that. So
So
you have that batch.
Parkinson was
That was the Parkinson's batch. Yeah.
Yep. That is it.
I'm one of these weirdos who saves the box to everything. I've even got my TV box.
And if you open up that box, there's a lot of stories inside of that.
Yep, that's why I saved it. Because here's the
Well, very
here's
cool.
your card too.
Yep.
Very, very
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, we have time if you want to do a side-by-side with some of those. I've got a question in the chat. How does the aging on the boat affect the ABV?
You know, when we actually do these, they start out at 115. And when they come back, they're probably right around 105, 108.
Right.
It does change. And then like the Brenna is probably a little less. It's more around the 108.
Okay.
You know, the age, angel shares, everything. Yeah. But we try to, we do proof them down to 100.
Oh, okay.
Now, do they taste better? Is that why you proof them down from the 108?
You know, we've thought about doing a cast strength.
Right. That's what I'm asking. I like that.
Well, what it does is we could do a cast strength, but it helps us stretch it out a little bit, proofing it down so we get a few more bottles and it gets enjoyed more by everybody.
Right.
And the whole thing is this is a fundraiser, this product. And so everything goes to whatever foundation we're working with.
Right. So the more you can give back, better. And
I
mean, the 100 proof tastes great.
Well, and one more thing that we do, whenever we do a foundation, we pretty much have them sign a contract with us. And the contract is that 70% of the money donated goes to research. And if they don't want to do it, we find another foundation that will sign that. But that way we know our money is actually going for research, and that's what we want. Because we're so close to a lot of these diseases, We just need more
Finding
research.
a cure.
And
Yeah.
so it's kind of something we really try to set tight.
Well, I think it's pretty evident that when we put our collective minds and money to fighting these, we can make progress.
We do.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
and it
very
takes
true.
people like all of us to do that, you know. That's the cool thing about our people.
Yeah.
So do you think a Captain Keith Coburn versus the SIG Northwestern Hanson is probably the way to go with these two?
Yeah, do those
I-
two.
I would love to hear how you compare the two, because when I bought the Wizard, I was so tempted to get the Northwestern, but I was like, oh, I'm just going to go with the Wizard. And
Try the Northwestern and tell me if you don't taste a little brininess.
A little
yeah.
salt.
It's
All right. So
Mineral.
David says that he never knew that crab boats had barrels on them until now, especially with the charity. You have to get a bottle or two. That brings up a question that I had.
Oh.
So it's on. There's the televised show, The Deadliest Catch,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Has there ever been an episode where they actually showed or said anything about your guys' barrels there?
No, they don't. And the reason why is because they have other companies that sponsor their shows. And so they can't mention us about it. But the book,
Gotcha.
the guys,
Right, because then you'd be doing some kind of sponsorship or somebody to people who aren't paying you to do so.
yep,
Something like
exactly.
that. But the guys own their boats and they own their names, and so they can use those freely.
Yep. And
Okay.
they all come here with their crews, and everybody signs. They're just like unreal to everybody and the people. And it's a
Cool.
fun, cool thing.
So
All right.
That has a different finish.
Does it?
It comes in a little bit later, yeah.
yeah.
All right. So the start of the, because I'm still sipping on the Wizard here.
Yeah.
So the start of the palate and mid palate is still pretty much the same. Is it just finished?
Well, my palate's not as good as yours. I'll freely admit that. And I try to eat a bland dinner, and but you can hit the brine. The brine hits late.
Really?
For sure.
It's
It's
pretty
there though.
pretty unusual how much and how different they are, and it's all just where they're at, where they go. All these boats, like Sig's boat, he goes all the way out to Russia, and he brings his boat back every year.
Oh,
He does
this
some
is filled with
tender-
vodka. That's what the difference is. He put
right,
that
so-
hole in and drained it, filled it full of vodka.
Roy Man said he signed up for your newsletter. And
All right.
David agrees whiskey's to be enjoyed, not looked at.
Oh yeah, and the spaceship. Some
Oh,
good
boy, that'd be
idea.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, take a barrel of space. It'll be fine.
I have
put it in that Tesla.
yeah.
This would be about $8 million a bottle. So, but
Well, I got to tell you, this has been really fun with you guys.
It is.
Oh yeah.
Well, I would
Rob,
say-
are you picking up any other differences between just that briny after taste?
yeah,
there?
the Wizard has a candy note on the nose that the Northwestern doesn't. And I don't know if maybe that got killed by the brine or something, or it's just opened up that more. But it definitely has.
No, there's definitely a sweet, hard candy now and later, hard taffy, some kind of a sweet hard candy note on it. I'm definitely.
Well, I'm sure after Halloween
You know,
candy, I'll be able to figure it
You know,
out.
like the
Right
Wizard.
now-
The Wizard's boat is the largest of all the crab boats out there.
Yeah.
And he keeps it down in the keel, so it's a really nice, even, rolly.
Right.
It's
a
almost
very
like I
smooth-
want to say a butterscotch, but maybe not. Maybe a butterscotch. It's not chocolate, that's for sure. It's
On the Wizard or the Brienne?
yeah, the Wizard.
The Wizard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little bit in there.
A little butterscotch or a little caramel.
Thank you. That's probably
It's
what I'm
more.
looking for,
I would say the bourbon is more caramely, while the
Yeah.
Wizard Storm Tossed is a little more butterscotchy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just where I'd put it. Whiskey Wine 101's in the house. Welcome, Marvin. You missed a lot. You're just gonna have to go back and watch it.
Until I got on, then you missed nothing.
No, Rob, you're good, man.
If you need to kick me off for other people, that'd be cool.
Yes. So Rob, I am on the edge of my seat, looking forward to you a video from you doing all 4 of those and giving me a side by side on them, man. I'm serious. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll put it in the lineup.
And if we need to arrange like a little collab for us to do that together, I am more than willing and able, brother.
And you should do it down here, Rob.
I'll take an Uber.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, hey, Rob, thanks for joining us. Whiskey edition. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We look forward to seeing you go through all 4 storm toss together.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
I'll wear one of those hats so I look like I'm on a ship.
Nice to meet you.
Dude, that'd be so fun.
It's been fun to meet you.
I have to do something to distract from my inability to, do it correctly. So
You did a good job.
Yeah, wear a raincoat or something.
Exactly.
Yep.
Some galoshes.
Brendan's.
All right,
Maybe
man. I'll talk to you later.
This so it looks like I'm being tossed around the boat and everything.
Hilarious.
Yep, do it. All right, Rob. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Thanks.
All right, bye. All right, I have got Will and Stacy in the house. What is up, guys?
Hi.
How you doing?
Hey,
All right, so no, go ahead.
no, you go, Mark. I want to hear what you were going to say.
All right, what I was gonna say is, Patty, Will, and Stacy were there at Mischief when we met a few months back, and so what they have prepared for us tonight is to make a cocktail with some of your whiskey to show us people like me who just drink their bourbon straight how to make a good tasty cocktail with it, and I am excited to see what they've come up with.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, before you get into the cocktail, do you guys have Will and Stacy? Do you guys have any questions for Mike and Patty?
I do, because I was listening to their story about getting started and about selling. If I understood, you were both in different businesses, sold and went all in on Mischief. And, you said you were 50. So I turned 50. She's 30 or whatever. But
Good man.
anyways, was that scary for you? Was there, any
Not really, because we kind of, honestly, we could probably do whatever we want to do. And what we weren't bored, but we felt like, you know what, we're still young and we can still do a lot of different things. So let's do something we've never done before. Let's put our heads together and figure out something that's completely new. And I've had other businesses, and so has Patty, and we've always been pretty successful at them. And we thought, wow, and this was right when distilleries were starting to happen. I think we're number 3 in the state. And when this happened, we just figured, well, let's try this. We've never done this before, and let's see if we can do this. And so we learned up as much as we could, and we went all out. We own the distillery completely by ourselves.
Oh, great. Yeah.
We've never borrowed any money. And, there's ups and downs, but we've always been able to make this whole thing work. And right now the distillery is doing amazing. And so it's kind of exciting for us because we actually created something new and it's successful. And so we feel good about that. And we help a lot of people, and a lot of people help us.
Yeah, you should. That's amazing. All right. Yeah.
Great.
So what business are you guys going to start?
So she is the brains and the talent behind what we're trying to get started is Charred and Twisted. And so smoked meat and
Cool.
Yeah.
Cocktails.
Very
cool.
Well,
So what we chose to use tonight for our cocktail was your single barrel cask strength rye.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So and I'm going to use it in an old fashioned.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
So a little story about Total Mischief there.
Okay.
We make that exclusively for Total Wine.
Oh,
They're-
okay. Yeah.
They're the ones that get that.
They bought all the barrels
Yeah,
that we
they-
made of it. It was but it was interesting. I remember my first taste of Total Mischief, and I think that they bought twice. So in these first barrels they bought, I remember walking across the courtyard and like, where did that chocolate come from? Because it was so chocolate forward. And then I remember there was about 4 years where we shared the warehouse across the street with Theo Chocolate. And they did a lot of chocolate production there. And so our barrels absorbed some of the aroma that was in the air. And that's where the chocolate came from. So I think the next time that they bought it, we had already moved our barrels
to a new
warehouse where there's no chocolate, that's for sure.
But it's on the water.
Yeah. I love it. I love a good rye whiskey, and this one, I've had your others. This was the first time I got to have this particular rye whiskey, and it's amazing.
This one's 100 proof too.
I think isn't it 110 proof?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like a higher proof in my old fashioned.
Yeah. I think I like a whiskey that tastes like whiskey and it has a little bit of burn.
Yeah.
Especially in Manhattans. And it looks really good.
So what were your ingredients? I know I saw the whiskey go in.
Yeah, so I used a spice syrup as my sweetener instead of the sugar because I like that it dissolves a little bit better. And also because it's fall and a little cooler right now, I kind of like that. Brings the flavors of fall to it as well. And then something a little different that I like to do is smoke it. So we're gonna just do put a little smoke on it as well.
Okay.
Now, did you make your spice?
This one I did not, but I usually do.
Okay.
So she's
Yeah.
gonna smoke.
So I'd like to share with you guys, we have a new whiskey that'll be coming out, and it's actually called the Maplewood Smoked.
I saw that. I heard about that.
It's pretty exciting. It's got a little more smokiness to it than any of our other whiskeys.
Now, when is that coming out?
Well, we cracked a few barrels about a month ago, and we're just kind of bringing it out in the store first, and then we're working with our distributor. And so it depends what the distributor does.
They're unlikely to pick up anything new going into the holidays, so it'll get introduced next year.
Yeah, it'll probably be
That's what they told us. They like to
in the
just,
spring.
sell what's been out there. So, wow, that looks delicious. So
It looks perfect for Halloween.
it does.
Yeah, that
Okay,
looks
so a
really
little orange, orange oil expressed, and very,
Wow.
very nice. Cheers, you
That
guys.
looks
That
very
looks so
good.
delicious.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, she made one for me earlier. I've already tasted it, and it was amazing. It's made a lot of old fashions, but this one, this rye,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
sweetness and everything so well. It's perfect. It's great to sip, and it's great in a old fashioned, just like
Well,
this.
the Total Mischief is one of our favoriteest whiskeys, and it's very cool. But that looks delicious, and we can hardly wait to
does.
try it sometime.
Cheers to
But
you guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, well, cheers to you
with
guys.
our
Okay.
glasses.
Yeah.
Dude, great job. Cheers to you guys. Appreciate you coming on, sharing that with us. Will, I'm definitely going to give you and Stacy a sample of the purple Tibetan and the smoked Maplewood one, as long as I get a sample of that total.
Yes.
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 For sure.
We haven't had it that long, and you can see it's already.
we've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're professionals.
Very cool.
You're right.
Very cool.
Well, we'll have to have you come down and make us one.
Yes.
we'd love that.
Anytime.
We'd love to have you down.
I'm a Ballard kid, so you
Cool.
know,
Very, very cool.
All right.
Good.
good neighbors. So
Hey, I appreciate. I love you guys so much.
Cheers.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
All right.
Yeah. Good job.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you guys very soon within the next
Yeah.
couple of days. Talk about doing some sample swapping. You go.
Okay.
Okay. So, man, they're just good people. I saw some other offerings of ryes. Any other insight on those? how did those come about? Jack, he kind of mentioned that a little bit in the beginning. Mike, or Patty, if there's anything that you guys want to hit on that, kind of goes back to a conversation we had towards the beginning about there being multiple variations of the ryes you guys offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of that's just, mad scientists or brains. There's a lot of, I think at the Mischief family, everybody's got great ideas and there's things they want to try. And it's, they say, hey, how about this? And, we go that direction.
Right. The rest of that answer to your question, Jack, you can find towards the beginning of the stream later on, but yeah, absolutely, like you said, you try a couple different things and just find something totally different that just tastes great. That's an amazing attitude to go all out. Successful business before helping people. So yeah, he's talking about you guys coming from your former businesses and going all in on Mischief. Which that's another one of those other questions I had for you guys. The Fremont.
Okay, that one's the Canal Street, but the Fremont.
Right. I'm talking about the name. Why not just Mischief instead of having the Fremont above it? Is it kind of like an homage to the neighborhood that you're located in? Or have you considered dropping the Fremont so it's just a clean
we do drop it sometimes, not formally on the bottles, but just when we're writing about it. What it is that
we're Fremontians. We've always been Fremontians. We love Fremont. We love the people, the community, and everybody here helps everybody. And that's the cool thing about Fremont. We live in Fremont.
Our businesses,
all our businesses have always been here.
Giving back to the community that was good for us.
Right. So it is having that staying on the bottle is kind of I want to say a sentimental thing to your guys' roots.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Because that was on my list of hard questions, along with sourcing and the different mash bills. About the naming of it.
See, I figured you'd probably ask, where'd you ever come up with Mischief?
No, I think Mischief is just a great name for a whiskey distillery. I love it. Yeah, I had no question in my heart about that one. I think it's fantastic.
Patty and Mischief, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Absolutely. I like a heavy rye spice.
Which rye has the heaviest spice? I think that would be, I don't know. Are you going to go with Freemont Mischief whiskey? Freemont Mischief straight rye whiskey?
Probably.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's the most complex. It has the most spice.
It's the oldest whiskey that we put out. We try to, I don't know. It's like one of our finer whiskeys we fill.
Right.
It's been a mainstay, and
don't you have some barrels that are a little older in the warehouse?
We do.
I think that with a Fremont Mischief whiskey, you don't really know what its best year is. We age it longer and then release. Harvest older barrels all the time. Now we're harvesting eighths, but I think after 10 years, whiskeys can start to not be as good. So somewhere in that 7, 8, 9 year period is when they're best.
Mark,
there's a sweet spot.
Right, there isn't. Until you try it, until you go there, you don't know.
And Mark, I actually kind of find that between 6 and 7 year is the sweet spot for whiskey.
Well, and I don't know if you guys have heard, Maker's Mark doesn't age to a year staple, like a year mark. They age to taste, but they're known to being in that like 6 to 8 year, like around 7 years.
Right.
And I can actually find with everything we've done, we are aging stuff older just to see,
to see if after you get over that hump.
We want to play with it.
Right.
But what we've kind of found is, honestly, it's that 6 and 7 year that has that sweet spot.
Yeah. Hey, cheers again to Charred and Twisted. As I've talked to you, and when we met you in person, and I told you earlier, Will, we're in the same Army Reserve unit. We met in the Army. Him and his wife have a side project called Charred and Twisted. So if you are local in this like South Sound area and you're looking for somebody to do catering of barbecue and making cocktails, Charred and Twisted, look them up. They made a great cocktail earlier. I really wanted to try it.
We'd like to have you
So
shoot
did we,
their
yeah.
information to us if you wouldn't mind, Mark.
Oh, I would be glad to, because what would be really fun is if they catered an event for you guys, because you have never had brisket like how they do, because they make their own barbecue sauce from scratch.
Cool.
Nice.
Like, it's fantastic. Mr. Whiskey Shits is here. Adam, good to see you, man. Thanks for dropping in.
That would be fun.
Yes, mixologist. All right, so if anybody else has anything else in the chat they want to jump on and ask, but for now, I would love to get into this purple Tibetan.
Okay.
And so I'm going to do a fresh crack real quick, and if you guys could tell me the significance of this. It says purple Tibetan, so the people that are watching this, what does that mean?
Okay, well, I can give you a little bit of its history.
Yeah.
So purple Tibetan is made with an ancient grain, an ancient barley malt.
Heirloom grain.
And it's, an heirloom grain. So it was one that was discovered 100 and some years ago, I think 1924. It was discovered at the 9,000-foot level in Tibet and brought back to the USDA repository, the seed repository. And there it kind of laid hidden for a long time. But in about 2011, a seed scientist down at Oregon State University, Pat Hayes, started doing some tests with it. And Tom Hunton, from who has Hunton Farms, who we buy from, he saw those tests and he decided to get a whole field of it. And he called us one day and said, hey, I got a field of this purple karma barley, and do you want some? And we ended up buying the whole field. So that was 2012. And so it wasn't very widely spread at that time. There was only maybe a couple farmers in the whole U.S. that were growing it at that time, because it had been, hidden in the, basically the basement of a repository for a long time.
Right.
And but over the ensuing 10 years or so, it actually has really become kind of a favorite of foodies and a favorite of farmers. It's got a cult following. Purple.
Right.
Purple barley does. You see all kinds of names for it. Sometimes we call it purple Tibetan.
Right.
It's called that. It's called purple karma barley. It's called purple barley, but it's all the same barley. And when you hybridize a grain, let's just say barley, to get higher yields or to fight off pests or fight off disease, they're not choosing necessarily or diastatic properties, so that it converts starch to sugar as well. They're not really looking necessarily for it to be the flavor of that whiskey. So
right.
When you have an ancient grain, when you have one that hasn't been hybridized, it's like those old roses. They still smell while the new ones might not. It is the purple Tibetan in this whiskey that really gives it that full flavor that you're tasting.
All right. Can you back up a step and kind of elaborate on what it means to be an heirloom grain for someone who,
Sure.
like the people that are watching this, that might not be familiar with that kind of a terminology?
I think when I was referring to it, what I was saying is that it really hasn't, it's DNA.
It's never
It
been
hasn't
genetically.
changed.
It's never been genetically modified. It's
Right.
the same original grain that they started with. A lot of times they'll hybrid grains so they can get more yield.
Right.
This is one that they've never
isn't.
genetically ever modified. And it's the original same as it was 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago.
So you germinate, crossbreed, all this stuff, all these different kind of grains of these different, plants to make a more favorable product for whatever you're going for.
Right.
For your yield, which is why carrots and corn and stuff like that went from something like this to something like this.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So what you're saying is that this purple Tibetan is something that predates all that kind of cross genetic.
And they still keep it that way. No one's
Yeah.
modified it, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's
natural.
still, and it's still that same grain that was put in that repository 120 some years ago.
Right.
So,
So that's why you refer to it in one instance. You said an ancient grain.
right.
Right, because 200 years ago, that plant looks exactly like how
It
this
does.
one does.
It still does, for sure. That's why.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and then we got the grain in 2012. We took it to Skagit Valley Malting when they were first getting started, and they both malted and toasted it for us, and then gave it back. And we distilled it and had it in the bottles by 2013.
And we got with White Labs, which
They made that special yeast for us.
yeah, they modified or didn't modify, but we got with them to actually do a Pacific yeast that we could create this with. And so a lot of little things with Purple Tibetan.
Well, I can tell you, I went from the bourbon to the Storm Tossed Rye, and now onto the Purple Tibetan, and it is so much more
Meaty.
complex.
Yeah,
It's complex.
There's a lot of florals going on, like
there's so many things
in a
that
field
come out.
where every flower is different.
Yeah,
There's so much going on.
Yeah.
But there's some fruit deep down in there in the back end, and behind the fruit there's some spice.
And that's what I was going to say. One of the, that I get out of the Purple Tibetan is a lot of berry flavor.
Right. In between the floral and the spice is a fruit layer.
Yeah.
Man, that is so fun to drink because there's so much going on.
It does. It's a very unique profile.
it's kind of fun playing with spirits. And once you kind of know the basics a little bit, you can actually become a mad scientist and really do all kinds of crazy things with it.
Well, cheers, Mark.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Ooh, I took a drink of water right before that one.
Different.
And I got a really dark purple grape note that I did not get before taking a drink of water.
It's got a lot of fruit complexity.
Dude, there's so much going on in this glass. That is a lot of fun.
Whiskey's kind of cool, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I do this.
That's quite the collection, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the last one that we already mentioned a little bit ago on the stream is the maple wood smoked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
See, he's got the.
Yep, that's okay.
This one is 90 proof. So 45% maple wood smoked straight right with what does it mean when it says maple wood smoked?
Okay, so what we did, we had Skagit Valley malting. They actually malt it or smoke it with maple wood instead of peat or their normal malting. They do that totally for us. And then we make a Freemont Mischief whiskey. And what we do, we blend the two. We'll actually make a whole batch with the maple smoked barley. So we do a whole mash with barley.
So back up, Mike, please. For people that are not in the industry and whatnot, not whiskey etologists, the maple wood smoked barley. Can you explain that process?
It would be like a single malt barley.
Yeah, it is a single malt barley. And instead of just putting it out as a single malt, we actually take and it's separate. And then we mix it with a blend of our rye whiskey, and we actually play with it until we figure or feel we have the right smokiness. And then we put that together and we.
So we might test 10% of the smoked distillate, then 15, then 18 and 20. So you can get where does it taste the best when it's in your straight rye?
We're actually like a 14.5% is what we mix into the rye.
Okay.
So 14.5% of the Maplewood, and we mix that in with our rye, and that is our Maplewood smoked.
Okay, gotcha.
And we could do a whole thing with just Maplewood smoked, and that would be a.
Well, whoops, battery's running low.
Our battery's going low here.
I'm gonna go find where to plug it in, Mike. I don't know why it is. Well, I hope we don't lose you.
Yeah, Mark, our battery is starting to go down.
Okay.
We're getting little signs on our computer here.
Uh-oh.
Trying to find a plug.
Did they unplug me? They did. I unplugged.
No worries.
Okay. How do you say?
Jack says, historian, socialite, and chemist. Absolutely, Jack. Yeah.
Well, love your show. It's pretty cool.
Thank you, Mike.
I like your bar.
Thank you. Yeah, the Maplewood smoked smells a lot different than the purple Tibetan.
Yeah.
It's not.
Every one of them are totally different than any of the others. All of them.
Yeah, it has a much softer, smoother just smell to it. I haven't tasted it yet. It's just like going back, like from where the purple Tibetan was up here.
Yep.
The smoked Maplewood comes back a little bit to more traditional, like vanillas and caramels and
a lot of that too, or it's like the barrels that we use will have a certain toast or
the char level.
Char.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we'll char and toast. We'll have toasted ends and a charred stays. This year, we do use a toast, so you get a little bit of the vanilla caramel, but at the same time, you get that maple. You get that smoked, and it's the barley is completely smoked with just Maplewood. It is. So
how does that affect when you're working with it, like the distillation process and stuff like that?
You really don't use that. You use it more for flavoring than you do for, its ability as a malt to change starch to sugar. It doesn't anymore. It really doesn't.
Okay. So there's like no negative effect in there at all.
No.
We kind of feel we're more of a rye brand, and
right.
We've done rye our whole time.
Yeah, we've got the one bourbon. People like a bourbon, but our specialty is the rye.
Like we played a couple years before we ever came out with stuff, and when you do your first distillation, when it's White Dog, you can pretty much tell what that's going to end up doing, and then you can also tell what type of barrel you put it in, whether you want more vanilla or more caramel or what you want. You can tell how it's going to come out. And we just always kept coming back to rye. And so we decided to stick with rye. We've had so many people say, hey, how come you don't do a single malt, or how come you don't do wheat, soft, all these things? Well, we're a rye whiskey distillery.
Right. And
I kind of feel
put your stake in the ground, and that's the direction you want to go.
Yep.
I think that's great, because there's a couple other single malt distilleries in our area. There's a couple that lean more towards wheats, and there's a couple that leans, and so you guys having that be your lane.
Yep.
It is.
I think that's great, because everybody needs their kind of like thing
Yeah.
Right.
Like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm going to give you. So you
Yeah.
know when you come to me, this is what you're getting.
Yeah.
Well, we've learned a lot about rye. Rye is kind of tough to work with. It's
Mhm.
very particular, but we've learned so much about it, and we've learned so much about barleys that it's actually been amazing. And I truly believe that rye is a true American whiskey because that's what it all was at one time.
Right.
It was only rye.
I got to tell you, as I'm sitting back sipping this Maplewood Smoked Rye, this one really seems like a good crossover because it's got some of the darker sweetness that you would get in some bourbons,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but some of the lighter spices you would get in ryes.
Yeah.
So if somebody is a regular bourbon drinker or even a rum drinker, because you know that dark molasses
Yeah.
could transition
It's
through.
almost like a bourbon.
Yeah. And so I think that Maplewood could be a good introductory to like take somebody from either a rum drinker or a bourbon drinker and show them what a rye can do.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's got some of that dark like stickier sweetness to it.
Yeah.
But it still has the rye spices in the back. It's a good I just think I don't know why I thought of that. It would be a good transition whiskey to someone who is interested in getting into ryes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Well-
really good. I really like it.
I'm
Rye
glad.
is for
Thank
the
you.
hardy.
Huh.
All right. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to close off with you guys backstage.
Okay.
I'm gonna cut off the live stream. And so any of you guys watching us live, I appreciate you guys being here and joining us and posting some great questions for Fremont Mischief here. Patty and Mike, you guys have been great.
Yep.
Really enjoyed having you on the show.
Well, we thank all you guys, and we thank
Yeah.
everybody for joining tonight. And if you guys ever get a chance, come down and visit us. Patty and I
Yeah.
are usually always here. And come and enjoy. Check
Yeah.
out the restaurant, check out our cocktails, and check out our tasting room. We have an amazing tasting room.
So,
Now, I can attest that because I've been in the tasting room and we had a blast.
good.
The food was good, the whiskey was good, just like the whole thing. We had a blast, and it was like in the middle of COVID time, so I'm sure it was like
We needed a blast.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
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 So,
True
Mark,
story.
we enjoy this a lot. And
Yeah.
so thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll chat with you guys a little bit backstage. I'm gonna just cut off the live stream. So if you're catching this on the replay, you can see the chapter descriptions below that I'll add tomorrow, and check out Fremont Mischief at their website. And if you're looking at getting some of their product, just shoot them an email or shoot me an email, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Thank you.
But other than that, thank you for joining us. Earn, protect, enjoy.
Yep.
Sure. Thank you.